the filming, Daniel.
Hey guys, it's Daniel here, and today I'm going to be reviewing one of the newest animated films to come out this year on Netflix and has kind of a long history towards the making of this movie, but has also been praised as one of the most extraordinary animated movies everybody has seen in a long time, and that is the new Netflix animated movie, Nimona. So Nimona takes place in this futuristic world, which is a mix between a futuristic modern day world with technology and a kingdom kind of setting, like a medieval setting, and follows one knight in this futuristic future named Ballister Boldheart, who thinks that his hard work of being a knight is going to pay off as he's going to be knighted by the queen, until things take a whole turn as he is framed for a crime that he didn't commit. So now, with this framed crime being on him, he's on the run from the law and his loved ones. So, to find out who is responsible for framing him, he teams up with a girl by the name of Nimona, as the title stated, who has the ability to shapeshift into different animals, people, or things. They work together to find out who set him up, while also helping Nimona try to find out where her place in life is, as being a shapeshifter girl doesn't seem to go well with other people. So I did watch the trailer for this movie a while ago, but then I never really thought about it that much, but I was interested to see it. Then I hear about the praise that it gets and how it has different themes that you wouldn't expect in an animated movie like this. So I got interested, so I watched the movie on Netflix, and my god, this movie is actually so good that it actually kind of shocks me how much animated movies are doing well this year. I mean, first Spider-Man Across the Spider-Verse, and now Nimona, because I really love this movie. It's really good, and I was surprised at how well it managed to take a twist and turn later on in the movie. Does it have its flaws? Well, I think I'll have to get back to you on that, but for the most part, I think this was a fantastic movie. First thing I gotta mention is that the animation is stellar, like fantastic. This movie seems to be based off of a visual novel that I will admit I have not read, but I saw a few little pictures, and I feel like that this movie definitely did a fantastic job translating its graphic novel pictures into animated movie performances. This movie seems to go to different places with its animation. The locations is fantastic, using a mix of 2D and 3D CGI and drawings. The character designs are fantastic, using medieval times with modern times, and the animation for Nimona herself is great because she manages to have the ability to transform into different characters, whether it's animal or person, and the different characters that she transforms into are very creative, with her animal forms with all the pink and the 2D like flashes that come around her, but when she has to transform into a different human, it can both come off as very comedic, but also manage to make these characters look more alive, and rather than just animated people. The action sequences in this movie are fantastic as well. You definitely feel the hits and the punches that these characters give each other, and not only that, but some of these action scenes can actually come off as very brutal, surprisingly, especially for a PG film. And yes, this movie is PG, but I gotta say, this movie definitely tries to go a little beyond PG. Sometimes it's even borderline PG-13, a bit of violence in it. There are themes that not a lot of kids are going to get, and even close to dropping a few swear words every now and again. In fact, many times I'm even wondering, wow, how did they manage to get away with that? But speaking of that, this movie has a great mix of comedy and drama. The comedy is fantastic in this movie. There are many times where I laughed so much that it just almost made me kind of like lose my breath a few times. Well, actually not made me lose my breath, but it did make me laugh many times. But what this movie definitely does well, and was honestly one of the greatest things that I absolutely loved about this movie, is that it kind of tricked me, because basically the first like third of the film to halfway through the movie, I thought was good. I mean, I've seen a few tricks now and again that they did, but there were a few cliches that I did not get into that much, but I still like the first half. But then halfway through the movie, things take a whole 180 and a huge turn as it transforms from one story to another in a second, and managed to create so many twists, turns, and big reveals that made me jaw dropped, but also made me see the different themes, morals, and emotional subtexts that this movie tries to explore. And I think that they explored it very, very well, because there are many moments that just made me heartbroken and made me shocked that they were able to do all these things. It made me hate characters for doing things that they do, and made me sympathize with the victims that they involve in, especially, again, with our main characters. And speaking of which, let's talk about the characters. First of all, of course, we have the titular character of Nimona, who I think was a fantastic character. Sure, at first she did come off as a bit hyperactive and a bit annoying with her constant talks of, oh, let's die, let's go kill anybody who steps in our way. Okay, we'll do it calmly until we have to kill them and rah, 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 la, la, la. Okay, I feel like it's a little over-exaggerating, so I can't be that mean, so apologies. But she's close to being like that level, but honestly, many points of her character in the first half where she does all that can be very humorous, especially when she has to change into different disguises. But the second half is where her character becomes even more amazingly spectacular, because we learn more about her, we understand her reasoning for doing what she's doing, she has a fantastic backstory that makes us really care for what she's going through, and when she has to do something that might be seen as kind of villainous, you realise that society is the real villain for what they did to her. I'm not going to give too much away, but I think that her character arc and her character story and what she goes through makes much more sense in the first half for why she does the stuff that she does. And I thought that Chloe Grace Moretz did a fantastic job making her come off as both sympathetic but also hilarious when she has to go into comedic mode. And her design is once again fantastic. And it really, again, makes us more relatable with this character, because it makes this character come off as more alive, relatable, and identifiable. All the other characters are fantastic too. Like, we have Ballister, who technically is the real main character, which seems kind of confusing because the movie is called Nimona, but Nimona is like the deuteragonist of the movie, while Ballister is the protagonist. But much like in Nimona, you really see what his character was going through. I mean, he was at the top of his game, he was working hard to really become the knight that he really wanted to become, and then out comes this out of nowhere framing of crime on his behalf, where he was framed for a crime he didn't commit, and now everybody's against him, including his loved ones and his best mate. I'd be really upset and angry if I was him too, and I thought that the actor who played him did a fantastic job making him come off as likeable, but also manages to make him both come off as convincingly angry, sympathetic, and charming. And I thought that the relationship between Nimona and Ballister was superb. I mean, at first, they were kind of like on opposite terms, because Ballister wasn't really into Nimona at first because of her hyperactive personality and her need to kill, but later on, when he realizes what she goes through being a shapeshifter, and more that Nimona realizes what Ballister had gone through, they really start to learn more about each other and start to become comfortable with each other's company, and the way that their relationship ends by the end of the film is fantastic. And speaking of that, the last third of this movie was excellent. I absolutely love the last third. It really takes a twist and turn for the characters. There are so many big reveals that you didn't see coming, and the climax was more a threat of not really like the whole villain. I mean, there is a villain in there. There isn't a villain in the movie, but the villains kind of seems a bit small compared to the other big threat in the climax. That isn't really that much of a threat at all. It's just a misunderstood kind of threat, and you really just feel the weight of the situation, and again, the different themes and identities that this movie takes, in terms of like, people being comfortable with who they love, as well as being neglected by people because you're from like a different type of people, just being like outcasted by everybody because of how different you are, really makes these characters not only come off as like relatable animated characters, but it just makes them come off as more alive, relatable, and identifiable, because the world can be this cruel, but it's up to the characters to make them sure that everything will be alright, because they need each other. And I think that's what makes the movie much more real and much more special. Now, do I think that this movie is flawless? Well, for the most part, but there are those tiny little problems that I did have that I can't overlook. First of all, the first third of the movie, I liked the first third, but it wasn't anything too amazing, because I felt like many characters in the first third did get a little annoying, because things were so hyperactive, and the whole story kind of felt a little bit predictable in the first third. Plus, I knew who the villain was as soon as we saw this character for a few moments, and when it's revealed that, oh, it was that character who set Ballister up, yeah, it seemed pretty obvious who the villain was. But, again, when you get to the second third, as well as halfway through the movie, you realise that the first third definitely added a lot to the story and to the characters. It definitely managed to take a twist and turn to maybe appreciate the first third more, but I still felt like the first third was good, but not anything spectacular. But honestly, I feel like that's the only problem I have with the movie. Now, before I give my overall thoughts about this movie, I think it's important for me to address the elephant in the room, that being the very complicated, long-term history about the making of this movie. You see, back when this movie was first announced, it was originally supposed to be produced by Blue Sky Studios, the company behind Ice Age, the Peanuts movie, and Rio, and for a while, I think they were managing to get through the movie okay, but then the movie got delayed many times due to the themes that were included. And then eventually, after Disney bought 20th Century Fox and Blue Sky Studios shut down, the movie was cancelled, until Netflix was going to show the movie on their site, and a new studio that worked on the movie, I can't remember what it was called, stepped in to finish the whole movie. And so, the question is, would this movie be effective if it was made by Blue Sky Studios entirely? Well, it's quite hard to say at this point, because yes, the movie does include a few pop songs now and again, but I felt like that the pop songs definitely worked to the movie's favour because of the darkness and hyperactive darkness energy that the movie has, so it's quite hard to say at this point, because some of Blue Sky Studios' movies haven't had the best record in terms of high grade, apart from like the first Ice Age movie and the Peanuts movie, and maybe Ferdinand and Rio, it's hard to say at this point, but I don't know, I'm just giving you my thoughts on this specific movie. Overall, guys, I thought Nimona was a fantastic movie. It's definitely one of my top 10. Well, actually, I haven't seen a lot of the latest films that came out in cinemas, so maybe it's like my top 3 favourite films of the year so far, but again, I haven't seen a lot of them. But I thought this movie was fantastic. It might not be as good as Spider-Man Across the Spider-Verse, but I thought it was a lot better than I imagined. It had great characters, great voice acting, the animation is superb, it definitely takes a lot of risks and themes that you wouldn't expect. It's definitely like very dark and in some cases a bit adult for a PG film, and honestly I think I'd recommend this movie for like people over the age of 9, 10, maybe teenagers. I don't really see why people would show their little kids this, but honestly I felt like this movie definitely took risks in case kids are watching it, and I think that definitely works in the movie's favour, because I don't like it when people say, oh, animation's just for kids. Well, watch this movie and you'll see a huge difference. But again, this movie was fantastic. It's close to being 5, but I did have a little problem with the first third, so I'll say that this movie is going to get 4 3/4 of a star out of 5. It's nearly a masterpiece, but I would definitely watch the movie again, and if you haven't seen it, go to Netflix and watch it right now. But anyway, what do you guys think of Nimona? Do you love it? Do you hate it? And what's your favourite new Netflix animated movie that you've seen recently? Let me know in the comment section below. More videos to come. Sorry that I did this over the microphone, but I just wanted to get this review out because I wanted to do more reviews of latest films this year. But again, I try my best. I make no promises, but I do try my best sometimes. And many times. So, I hope you enjoyed this video, and I'm Daniel reviewing movies, TV shows, doing videos, and shape-shifting the love that I have for this movie. Till then, peace out, man.